Okay, so this is the most important thing you need to know about this week. So I'm often asked as a real estate investor what I look for when buying properties. And although it depends on whether we're in a buyer's market, seller's market, good economy, bad economy, the strategies change. I'm gonna go over the 4 things that I look for in today's market when I'm searching for properties. The first one is days on the market. I look at how long a property has been sitting on the market. Is it 30, 60, 90 days? The longer the house has been sitting, the better chances you have to strike a deal with the sellers. Now, we'll say one thing about this market that makes that a little bit harder is that there are a lot of sellers right now whose houses have been sitting on the market longer and longer because they have a number in their head, they have a price in their head that they're not willing to go under. And this is because of what's happened over the last 6, 12, 24 months where the multiple offers coming in above list, and sellers basically naming the price that they want to sell their house for, and buyers just basically caving in and buying it for whatever price. So there are a lot of sellers that still have that mentality, and they're not willing to negotiate with you regardless of how long the house has been sitting on the market. So just keep it in mind that just because a house has been sitting on the market for a very long time doesn't necessarily mean that the sellers are willing to negotiate. But it is a good starting point when looking at what type of house you could potentially look for or look into when you're trying to strike up a deal as a buyer. The second thing is the listing description. A lot of times on the listing description, it'll give you clues. It'll give you an idea of how motivated the seller is. There are in listing descriptions sometimes words such as motivated seller or seller willing to give a concession if we get a contract by X amount of dates or X date, or if we close by X date. So just keep in mind, take a look at the listing description to see just if there's any motivating language in there, because if there is, and you think that's a house that you might be able to get a good deal on, then you could strike up a deal with the seller and make it a good transaction for everybody. The number 3 is the listing history. If I see a house that has already been on a contract before and it fell out of contract for whatever reason, then there's a highly likely chance that that seller already has a price in their mind that they're not willing to go below either. Because if they already got a contract at a certain price and you come in and try to get it below that, they just mentally, oftentimes a seller is just not willing to negotiate with you because they know they already had a contract at a higher price, even though that contract fell through. So I look for properties that have a steady decrease in list price, because more than likely these are sellers that are more realistic with what's happening in the market. And if the house is sitting on the market too long or it's just not getting any activity, if you see that a house has been reducing its price or its list price steadily, then you more than likely have a seller that's willing to negotiate with you and is understanding of what the current market conditions are. So that's one thing that I look for as well. And then the last thing is photos. When I look at the photos, I look at the house on whether a house is staged, is vacant, or is still being occupied. Because if a house is still being occupied, the chances are that that seller isn't in a huge hurry to sell because they already live there. They're not going anywhere. And if the price or the offer that you're presenting isn't that great, they're probably just going to sit on it and they're not going to make any moves. So what I look for are houses that are either vacant or that they're staged. And you can often tell when a house is staged because it's like super clean, like the furniture is like very basic and there's really no personality behind the furniture or the decorations. You could tell. And so I look for those types of properties because more than likely if a house is vacant, the sellers are probably paying 2 mortgages right now. And they could be in a situation where they're willing to trade either some concessions or a lower sales price with you in order to avoid having to continue paying more than 1 mortgage. So that's the last thing that I look for when trying to get a deal in today's market. So I hope this helps you as you're buying, even if you're selling a house. And just take these 4 things into consideration as you're selling your house and preparing to sell your house, just so that you be mindful of what's going on in the market. As the market is shifting And as we're moving left, right, whatever it is that we're doing with the market, I'll keep you guys up to speed on what I'm looking for or what the market trends are doing so that you can stay on top of the local real estate market and that you can always have the latest and greatest information to make a smart financial decision with your real estate transactions. So if you need anything, I'm always working. If you need help running numbers for you, if you need help getting pre-approved or running numbers or just picking my brain on some of the ideas that I have regarding real estate, please let me know. I'd be happy to help you. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.